Hey there, this is Jacques from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Now, this has been a pretty interesting week for the market. Some areas are a little bit quiet, but others are seeing a little bit of a spike due to the fact that we had a whole bunch of huge announcements this week, and we'll talk a little more about that later. Also, we're on the cusp of finding out what's in Eternal Masters, so there's this kind of fever building up in the legacy market, and you're going to see that once we get there. But as always, we're going to start off with Standard, and first we're going to look at the top 5 Standard cards that have lost value this week. Coming in at number 5 is Chandra Flamecaller, losing 222, 225, 25. Now, Chandra's still seeing a lot of play in Standard. She's seeing maybe a little bit less since the rotation, but still out there, still a very good card, but a little bit of a loss this week. Number 4, Liliana Heretical Healer, losing 227 to 25-27, almost the same story here. This card actually saw a little bit of a spike around the Pro Tour time. It was seeing a lot of play in Standard. After the Pro Tour, it declined a little bit, but it's still out there. So again, this card will probably drop a little more as time goes on, but still a card that's seeing play. Number 3, Archangel of Tides, losing 227 to 1360. Still a card that sees play in the white humans deck, and those are aggressive white decks. Now, what's interesting is the Standard format is so diverse right now that a card that's triple white that's seeing play and still doing quite well is sort of shoehorned into the one deck, and there's just so many other options out there. Because of that, I think this is going to continue to decline a little bit as it goes down to maybe around a $10, $8 card over the next few weeks, but it doesn't mean it's not seeing play in Standard. Number 2, Pyromancer's Goggles, losing 246 to 1205. Another example of a card that was huge off the Pro Tour and came down a little bit afterwards. It did see a huge spike, and that's why this is sort of stabilizing right now. It might be seeing slightly less play than it did around the Pro Tour time, but it's still out there in quite a few decks. Coming in at number 1, Jace Vern's Prodigy, and Jace is kind of on the downward spiral. We've been talking about this for a few weeks. This week he's lost 917 to 6465, and he's just crashing really hard at this point. Just the fact that you can't splash him as easily in a number of different decks, and he's not quite as good without fetch lands, and the metagame, at least in Standard, is kind of moving on. Now, long-term investment, yes, Jace is played in a lot of other formats and will continue to be played in a lot of other formats. I have no doubt in my mind. However, Standard was kind of the bread and butter for this card, so you're seeing a crash now. One thing to keep in mind, though, he's falling so fast and so hard. You can probably get some good deals on this card if you look at the larger markets, like places like eBay, Amazon, even TCG Player, just because there's going to be people trying to get rid of these things quickly, especially if they were speculating on this card and built up a big pool of them. It's probably safe to say you can get these for well under $64 at this point. So if you want to pick up Jaces for whatever reason or for the future, which I don't think is a bad idea, you can probably start to find a few good deals in big marketplaces. On a side note, I know this doesn't really have anything to do with Jace or Standard, but Eternal Masters is another example of a product you might be able to find a little bit cheaper right now on some of those big markets. For example, I went and pre-ordered 2 boxes to open on the channel yesterday, and those boxes I was able to get for about $250 plus a few dollars shipping. And that's actually not bad, because if you look at, say, Channel Fireball, or you look at even Cool Stuff Inc., which usually has pretty good prices, or now Star City hasn't put their prices up yet, but I assume they'll be comparable. They're selling boxes right now, pre-ordering at $300. And we don't know what's going to happen next week when we start getting more and more spoilers. So potentially, if people like what they see, these prices could start to go up and spike. So you may want to think about checking out some of those big markets this weekend, see if you can get some deals. Now, when the hype train starts rolling next week, deals might start to fade away, and some of these cards may go up in value. At that point, you may want to wait until the product actually comes out, and then you might be able to find some better deals there as opposed to pre-ordering. So anyway, got off the subject there, but I just thought it was important to mention. All right, let's talk about the top 5 Standard cards that have gained value this week. Now, you're going to notice that, quite honestly, there's not a whole lot of big gains in Standard this week, except for the number 1 spot. So Dragonlord Atarka going up 28 cents to $13.49. Secure the Waste going up 39 cents to $11.46. Card seeing a lot of play in a lot of different decks, though. Transgress the Mind going up 44 cents to 159. Another card seeing a lot of play in a lot of different decks. However, it is an uncommon. Kaladesh, Trader of Get going up 87 cents to 32.29. Not a huge increase this week, but still the most popular card right now in Oath of the Gatewatch, which is really saying something because that was a very powerful set. And finally, the big mover of the week, Nahiri the Harbinger going up 9.33 to 39.27. And she's the real deal, folks. First off, she started to spike when there was some crazy brews going on that panned out to be pretty good in Modern as well as in Legacy. And now she's continuing to go up because even though some people were speculating she might be good in the future in Standard, she seems to be good in the current Standard now. There's a lot of decks playing her that are doing very well, kind of like Naya Control. There's a Super Friend style deck out there that's playing her, stuff like that. So, yeah, she's arrived. She's the real deal. And if you haven't picked up copies yet, I hate to say it, I don't think it's going to get much better anytime soon. So, biting the bullet, picking these up for $35 or $40. I mean, at this point, if you can find them for $35, I'd probably pick some up because I do think she's going to continue to go up. However, at some point, there will be some stabilization. You want to be expecting that, but she's seeing tons of play and is going to be, I think, a good long-term investment card. All right, let's move on to Modern. Now, Modern is a little bit quieter maybe than Standard and Legacy this week, but let's see what's going on. Coming in number 5 is Sword of the Meek, going down 173 to 21.18. This was recently unbanned, saw a huge spike. It's just sort of stabilizing right now. There's some decks that are playing Sword of the Meek. They're doing pretty good. It's not breaking the format or anything like that. Number 4, Ensnaring Bridge, and this is 8th edition version in particular, going down $2.14 to 43.25. Still seeing tons of play, so this is just normal stabilization. Number 3, Tezzeret Agent of Bolus, losing $2.29 to $35. And this kind of rose up when Sword of the Meek was unbanned. It's in that deck. And again, because it saw such a huge spike, it's just sort of stabilizing right now. Number 2, Painter's Servant, going down $2.30 to $22. Now, this is a card that sees a fair amount of legacy play in the Painter Grindstone decks. However, it got a little bit of a push a few months back in Modern because a lot of folks wanted to sideboard this card or try to brew with it to deal with the Eldrazi Menace. And now the Eldrazi Menace is gone, so Painter's Servant's losing a little bit of ground. However, like I said, it's still played in other formats, so it's not going to completely bottom out, but it will go down a little bit. And finally, Damnation, coming in at number 1, losing $2.81 to $67.59. Now, this recently saw a spike, so it just kind of went back to what it was originally valued at. However, there's some speculation out there that this could show up in Eternal Masters as opposed to, say, a future Modern Masters, since it does see more play in Eternal formats than it typically does in Modern. Usually see this more in like Cubes, Commander, and stuff like that. So it is a candidate for a reprint there, and I think people are a little nervous right now to invest in this card until we know more. Alright, so what are the top 5 cards that have gained value this week in Modern? Coming in number 5, Wheel of Sun and Moon, and this went up $1.69 to $18.32. This card's a real deal too. I think this is a card that a lot of people didn't notice for a while, but it's a fantastic sideboard in a number of different decks right now. It's seeing play in Jeskai decks, but honestly, look out for these Shadowmoor rares. I mean, Shadowmoor was a set that was not open very much. A lot of the sets around that time period hold their value better than, say, current day sets. So this is one to keep an eye on. Number 4, Vengevine, and this went up $1.70 to $19.79, and this is seeing a little bit of play in a fringe Modern Dredge deck right now, and that deck's had success in the past. A couple of years ago it won a GP, so never counted out, and right now it's just gaining a little ground. Number 3, Celestial Colonnade, going up $3 to $38.99, and this card is just huge in control decks especially, but basically it's a fantastic dual land that doubles as a creature if you're in those colors, and this is just kind of where you want to be if you're playing control deck, right? So this is going to continue to go up. This is a very big card right now in Modern. Number 2, Steam Flogger Boss. Now, this one's actually kind of fun. This one up 347 to 422, and you may ask yourself, why is this going up? What is a contraption? Well, this is a card that for a long time Mark Rosewater has kind of teased that he would like to find a way to make contraptions a thing, even though this card was originally made as a joke in Future Sight, basically. Well, we got the announcement last Monday that we're going to a new land, which is Kaladesh, and it's going to revolve around artifacts and inventors and creating things, and sounds a little bit like maybe assembling contraptions could potentially be a thing. And there's been a few kind of cryptic statements by Rosewater that got people kind of speculating on this card. Now, this is a fun little speculation, and you can still get these things for under $5, so if you wanted to pick a few up, I don't think that's a bad thing. A couple things you want to keep in mind, though. First off, we don't know the contraptions will be in the set. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Secondly, even if they are, this could be reprinted. Thirdly, even if they are, and this is reprinted, or not reprinted, will this card be good? Maybe, maybe not, right? We don't know yet. So this is a kind of a big gamble in some ways. However, you're not gambling that much. It's only a few dollars. And if it pans out, even if they do reprint this, a lot of people may want the original version. So it's an interesting little card to speculate on. I want to go out and try to get 100 copies of these things by any means. But if you want to maybe pull yourself a play set, wouldn't be a bad thing. Number 1 is Grafdigger's Cage, going up 433 to 885. Now, this is a cyborg card seen all over the place. However, it's spiking and seeing more play right now due to the fact that Nahari is definitely a thing in the format. Alright, so let's look at Legacy, and you're going to see some interesting things going on here. You're going to see some cards that maybe are losing a little value because people are getting a little nervous about what's going to happen with Eternal Masters, but mostly you're going to see reserveless cards doing what reserveless cards have been doing. Alright, so as far as cards that lost value this week, the first one, number 5, Serendib Ifrit from Arabian Nights, going down $7.65 to $156.99. And I'm going to go off topic a little bit again for a second here and say that this is a perfect example of why reserveless cards, especially if they were reprinted, would not crash in the vintage market. And Serendib Ifrit is a great creature. It's a great card. Sees a lot of play, especially in cubes. And if I want an Arabian Nights version, which is the original, more rare version, I got to spend about $150, $160 for this card. However, if I just want the card, I just want to play with it, I can get a revised version of the card. It'll run me less than $1. This card's valued about 82, 83 cents. Now, granted, it might not look as cool. It's not as rare. But if I want to play with a card, I can play with it for under $1. But it doesn't mean that the value of this card has really been hurt. And this still runs you $150, right? So, I don't know. It's just one example that the vintage cards are still rare. They're still desired, even if you printed more updated versions of them. So anyway, again, I don't want to get too far off subject here, but I thought this was kind of an interesting thing to look at. But this card may be going down because perhaps it is something that could potentially see a reprint in Eternal Masters. But quite honestly, I don't think it would hurt the value in the long run. Coming in number 4 is the unlimited version of Stasis. This is going down $8.80 to $32.99 this week. Number 3 is the Unlimited Armageddon, going down $11.10 to $47.90. This card's all over the place. Down, up, down, up. This is just a really bad investment right now. I'm not really sure why it's fluctuating as much as it is. This and the Unlimited Winter Orb kind of in the same boat. Next we have Tundra. This is the unlimited version, going down $13.18 to $343.82. And finally, we have the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale, going down $34.43 to $9.23. Now, the thing with this card is it's so valuable that there's not a lot of sales every week, so there might only be 1 or 2 sales, which is why you're going to see some pretty big changes every week in the price for this. But basically, it's really still going up in price overall. It's probably now truly an $850 to $950 card. Alright, let's look at the top 5 cards that have gained value this week in Legacy, and these are all going to be, you guessed it, reserveless cards. Coming in number 5, Gauntlet of Might, going up $9.81 to $178.18. Number 4 is Diamond Valley, going up $12.99 to $185.48. And as you can see, it looks like a lot of speculators are just trying to find something quote-unquote affordable to start investing in that's on the reserve list. Number 3, we have the Savannah from Unlimited, going up $14.91 to $172.08. Number 2, Mirror Universe, going up $15.32 to $72.20. And finally, we have Plateau from Unlimited, going up $18.82 to $173.11. Saw a little bit of a dip last week, just rebounding this week. Well, that's the market watch. So as for this coming week, we're going to be getting spoilers for Eternal Master, so keep a close eye on the market. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of volatility there. And depending on how Wizards puts out spoilers, next weekend we may be doing a full set review, so we'll have to kind of see how that goes. If that's the case, then what we'll do is the market watch maybe a few days later. And I think there'll be enough going on in the market that even if I do one midweek and then another one the following weekend, there'll probably still be a lot to talk about. So I just want to kind of give you that quick note. But hey, as always, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.
Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality videos for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a good day.